One. Good morning, Sun Worshipers. This is George McClellan, at last back after 2 days of hearings and everything, coming to you from FetcherNews.com, North Georgia's only live online internet talk show. My hour is generally 10:30, 11:30. We've had some scheduling problems, but we'll get over it. The news is just so overwhelming that even in an hour, I haven't got enough to be able to tell you what I want to tell you, or try to enlighten you with what you don't know. But I can tell you this, you might have guessed this, even before he's out of office, and he's got 9 days left, Obama's signature legislation, his Obamacare, has already been voted into committee to be changed. Trump said at his press conference, I think, that they were not going to extend replacement over a 3-year period. They're going to do it all at once and get it over and done with. The thing is dying of its own weight anyway, because it was just a stupid, corruptible wealth transfer plan, and Americans know it. And so we can kiss that goodbye. And with that, Obama's legacy, and I'll talk more about legacy later. Also, Lois Lerner, remember the famous Lois Lerner? According to new IRS emails obtained through a Freedom of Information Act by Judicial Watch, and if you want to make some donations, political donations, consider Judicial Watch. The former head of tax-exempt groups at the IRS, Lois Lerner, was in contact with the Justice Department in May of 2013 about whether tax-exempt groups could be criminally prosecuted for lying about their political activity. In fact, Lois Lerner did not call them. The DOJ called her, and that would have been the fellow before Loretta Lynch. And I'll give you the exact thing. Lois Lerner said, I got a letter, she didn't say it, it was in the email. I got a letter today from Richard Plager, Director of Elections Crime Branch at DOJ, wanting to know who at IRS the DOJ justice could talk to at the hearing and could put together false statement cases about applicants who lied on their 1024s, saying they weren't planning on doing political activity and then turning around and making large, visible political expenditures. They're talking about Tea Party groups and political action groups. Well, a political action group may or may not be Tea Parties, or they may or may not be involved with it. But this was the assault on America's freedom of the press, freedom of speech. But it started in the DOJ, the Justice Department. DOJ Justice is feeling like it needs to respond, but wants to talk to the right folks at IRS to see whether there are impediments from our side and what, if any, damage this might do to IRS programs. Lerner said she told him that sounded like we might need several folks from IRS. And she wrote that on May the 8th, 2013, in an email to former Nicole C. Flax, former acting IRS Commissioner Steve Miller's chief of staff. And so there we are. I thought that was important to bring out. No criminal activity lies fallow. If it's serious enough, it will come to the surface. At some point, it will come to the surface. And I think that with Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General of the United States, these kind of cases will see the light of day, and they can be taken to court and aired, and Americans will trust their government again. Right now, we do not trust our government. I do not trust the DOJ. There's plenty of evidence for me to say that, and I will stand on that. She said she thought we should do it, and she needed to include the Criminal Investigative Division of the IRS to help coordinate, and also she wanted to include the FEC. Now, does it make sense to consider including them in this or keep it separate. That was another point. I don't have the answer to how that turned out. Anyway, we are there. I mentioned Obamacare. In the early morning hours, Thursday as a matter of fact, this morning, while most of the country slept, Senate Republicans took the first step in repealing Obamacare with a budget resolution that passed on a 51-48 party line vote. A simple majority was all that was required for it to pass, since Republicans will be using the reconciliation process that Brother Harry Reid introduced. Thank you, Harry Reid, to avoid a Democratic filibuster. The Democrats are in breakdown. We watched that at the hearings. If you watched the hearings of Jeff Sessions for Attorney General and the Rex Tillerson for Secretary of State, they just seem to they use the same old playbook techniques, try to embarrass the man sitting there or the woman sitting there, the candidate they want to interview and question, by bringing up the programs that they support that might already be in law, whether constitutional or not. And aren't you going to help the poor? And what are we going to do about the halt and the lame? And if you're Attorney General, certainly you're going to preserve these programs, aren't you? Expecting a positive answer. Jeff Sessions slapped one right out of the court. He said, no, if it's not constitutional, we will not do that. They have to meet the rule of constitutionality. I'm using my words. And Rex Tillerson basically said the same thing. He was not allowing himself to be trapped. I particularly like the question that Senator Rubio put to Tillerson, asking if he thought Putin was a war criminal. Well, a war criminal by whose definition? The United Nations, the International Court, has a definition of what or who constitutes a war criminal. Right now, they think that Netanyahu of Israel is a war criminal. But they do not add Putin to it because why? Putin sits on the round table. He's one of those, him and China and America or France, Britain, sit at the big table and make the final vote. So putting Tillerson on record, his opinion on record, if he thought Putin should be a war criminal for bombing Aleppo and killing all those civilians, was an unfair question because one, America is not at that table anymore. Putin saw to that with Obama's help. He did not do the red line, support his red line promise to take action if chemicals were used by Assad against his own people. And suddenly the dam was broken and the Russians entered the arena and kicked us out. So we're not at that table. And we have no business opining on that. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But it's not Rex Tillerson's job to say he's a war criminal. Besides that, America, the Congress, has not declared war against Russia. So in that case, he would be a war criminal if he bombed our cities like that and killed civilians using these flash bombs of fuel that exploded in the air, sucked the air out of basements. Then we could call him a war criminal. Right now, he's the Russian premier. That's how I look at that, just from a pure point of view of absolutely understanding how they use words to entrap people into making silly comments or agreements and things like that. Now, back to Obamacare. How did I get distracted? Cole, you distracted me with that one. Early Thursday, the Senate took the first step towards dismantling Obamacare, responding to pressure to move quickly, even as Republicans and President-elect Trump grappled with what to replace it with. They're not grappling. They have a plan, and they've had it since Tom Price introduced that plan 8 years ago. They have been working on this plan. The only thing they're grappling with is little tiny things that can be worked out in committee, and the Republicans can get that done, get it over with, and replace Obamacare. The nearly party line 51-48 vote came on a non-binding Republican-backed budget measure that eases the way for action on subsequent repeal legislation as soon as next month, as soon as February. We must act quickly to bring relief to the American people, said Mitch McConnell. The House is slated to vote on the measure on Friday, tomorrow, though some Republicans there have misgivings about setting the repeal effort in motion without a better idea of the replacement plan. Well, they better get on board because the plan is there, it has been there, and their staffs had better brief them up on it. Because this is moving forward. Donald Trump, if you listen to him at his press conference yesterday, he's pushing the program forward. And if he gives them time to rally and resist anybody, Democrats or Republicans, to rally or resist, then they will take the effort to stop that program, to stop those changes. Cannot afford that. We cannot afford that. Trump oozed confidence at his news conference, promising his incoming administration would soon reveal a plan to both repeal Obamacare and replace Obamacare with legislation to, quote, get health care taken of in this country, end quote. So what I've seen of President-elect Trump and what he's doing, I have all the confidence in the world. I will talk about that with my final moments. Then there's the last thing that comes up. I want to bring this to your attention in case you haven't figured it out already. The left, the ethics people are worried about emoluments. Emoluments, that's gifts. The thing started years ago, 250 years ago, when Benjamin Franklin was given a little snuff box out of silver encrusted with precious stones by the King of France. It was not necessarily a bribe. Kings give gifts. And Benjamin Franklin, when he got back, asked the Congress, the president, whether he could keep the gift, if it was proper for him to keep the gift. What was the official position on receiving gifts as a private citizen or a representative of the government from foreign powers? And they used the word emoluments. It was emolument. It actually belonged to the government. And so we have warehouse full of gifts, probably all end up in the Smithsonian in any event. Now, they're talking about foreign dignitaries using Trump hotels, particularly that new one just down the street from the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue, the old post office building, lovely place. Trump bought it, and he has turned it into a massive hotel, and foreign foreign governments are renting rooms in that hotel. That is not an emolument. That's just the cost of doing business for them and him. Now he has told us yesterday in his press conference that he was divorcing himself, turning all his businesses over into the hands of his two sons, adult sons. But now we also have the Rex Tillerson comparison. Comparisons were made between Trump and Tillerson's former business ties with Exxon and how they should divest themselves from these businesses. The main difference is that Trump was sole owner of all his businesses, and he was therefore the boss. And he called all the shots, and he made the decisions of where to go, where to build, who to talk to in foreign countries, and how they were going to pay for it. Tillerson, on the other hand, was an employee of Exxon Mobil. And he was a shareholder, like some of us are shareholders. So he was an employee of a big, big business that he matriculated to run the company. The CEO, the chief executive officer of Exxon Mobil, did not make him the owner of Exxon Mobil. So all he has to do is put his shares in trust, and they'll make money or not, and retire and take his retirement, and then he can set about doing the business of the government and saving America like he said he wanted to do, and like Trump wants him to do. So there's a difference. Just keep in mind, Trump owns his business, and Tillotson was simply an employee of a big company. And I suspect we're probably getting close to our break time, so I want to bring this to your attention. We'll see you on the other side.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
This is the big one, the 20% off MSRP model year-end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, with huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys, right here, right now, at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Looking for in a vehicle, start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Well, welcome back, fun lovers. George McClellan at FetcherNews.com, North Georgia's only live internet talk show. You can contact me at 706-889-9700 or George at FetcherNews.com. I'll get it. Have a comment. We'll air it the next time I'm on the air. Right now, the big news are the Senate hearings. Trump knocking the press. I'll tell you, he has said a new thing. The press is not going to be like it was in these last few decades. They're not going to set the narrative. Trump will set the narrative. Now, I'm getting away, once again, I'm getting away from what I want to talk about. Tom Price has been selected to head up the Health and Human Services, and that will leave a vacancy in the 6th Georgia Congressional District. I think it's the 6th. So who's going to fill it up? Well, we find out that State Representative Chuck Martin is out of the running. He pulled himself out, as did State Senator Brandon Beach. Said he won't run for Congress if he becomes chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee, which was announced later Monday, and leaving State Senator Judson Hill as the only confirmed legislator running in the special election to fill Tom Price's position. Then that will be Governor Deal will make that decision after Price formally resigns, and he'll resign when he's confirmed. Now, House Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones and State Senator John Albers already took themselves out of the running, as did Tom Price's wife, Betty Price, state representative, she is, and it said it was premature to comment until Governor Deal sets the vote. Don't forget Karen Handel. Karen Handel, I liked her. I voted for her for governor. I supported her for governor, and I like Karen Handel. She might give it a shot. So much for that. Now, the hearings are continuing, and here's 5 questions that Ben Carson can expect to face as the candidate to be Secretary of HUD. He was a neurosurgeon of unrivaled skill, a failed presidential candidate, and he will have to demonstrate that he is able to make the transition to government on Thursday when he appears before the Senate Banking Committee for a hearing on his nomination to be Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. He can expect that senators will test his knowledge and his priorities. After that bruising news conference that Trump had, where he really, really kicked some butt, I'm wondering how the soft speaking, gentle Ben would actually have been as our presidential candidate. Instinct tells me he would have been eaten up. Instinct tells me also that the regular old GOP that we're trying to replace now, the elites, the Grahams and the McCains and Lindsey Graham types would have taken control and still pursued the GOP policy of hands across the aisle sort of thing. But neurosurgeon Ben Carson will have to demonstrate he is able to make the transition to government on Thursday when he appears before the Banking Committee. He's 65 years old, and he'll have to demonstrate that he's a quick study. He has no background in housing, urban policy, or other areas relevant to the job required of him, beyond the fact that he grew up poor and became a major success, a medical success. Senators, particularly the Democrats, what few is left of them, will seek to test his knowledge. They will also try to get a sense of the Trump administration's housing priorities, which remain mostly unknown. And that's right. We have not heard Trump talk about free houses for people who don't produce anything, free food for people who do not produce anything, free medical care for people who do not produce anything, but still they have to be housed so they don't freeze out on the street. Obvious, the first question, what are your qualifications to run a big agency? That's a very good question, and there's, you can give one answer and they will come back with another. Before President-elect Trump picked him to run the agency, Carson's business management manager suggested he didn't have the experience to do so. Armstrong Williams told The Hill that Dr. Carson feels he has no government experience, has never run a federal agency, and that's true, that's not telling a lie. The last thing he would want to do was to take a position that would cripple the presidency. Now, set aside the conflict between the state and Carson's run for the presidency, which is the biggest job of all. Senators are going to want to know why Carson should be entrusted with the agency's nearly $50 billion budget. Well, in fact, I think Carson has agreed and is in there for the purpose of reducing that budget, lowering that budget. Nevertheless, previous HUD secretaries have come in without extensive federal service, and Carson has received support from key industry groups such as the Mortgage Bankers Association. Now, in everything I say, follow the money. I write about it, I talk about it. Nothing happens, but what you cannot attach somewhere, they'll follow the money to it. Carson doesn't have a track record when it comes to housing, nor has he said much about his view on the role of the federal government or the specific programs run by HUD. But he did weigh in somewhat randomly, as I recall, on one of the most controversial initiatives of the Obama HUD in 2015, taking aim at the administration's affirmatively furthering fair housing rule. That is where Obama and HUD will order developers who build super subdivisions for people with $300,000-$400,000 to spend on a brick home to also have acres set aside and build housing for poor. So he wants to move the poor urbans out of the middle of the center cities into your neighborhood so they can start burglarizing these mini mansions and things like that. That's what that's all about. Critics have said that it would inject the federal government into local zoning decisions. It would. The federal government it's not in our Constitution that the federal government has this power to do it. It is in the Constitution that the states, it's specifically not given to the federal government, then it belongs to the states, and that's where it should belong. Carson wrote an op-ed, you might recall, that it was an example of government engineering to attempt to legislate racial equality, and it was bound to fail. And it will fail when people start getting shot while they're trying to break into somebody's house, especially an expensive house. Democrats are likely to ask Carson whether he disagrees or agrees with the overarching goal of fair housing. Well, what is fair housing? You define it differently than they define it. Fair housing is what I can afford where I want to live. And it's not fair if you up the price because I'm of special skin color. If I'm black and I come in there and I have $200,000 and I want to buy that house and it's for sale, I can make my bid on that house, and I don't want you saying I can't do it. That's what I think is fair housing. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Although it was overshadowed by other Obama initiatives, the rule could have far-reaching implications for neighborhoods across the country. Number 3, will he drop the focus on LGBT housing? Who cares? Who cares? LGBT housing is deviants wanting to live together in a house. If they got the money, let them have it. And so I see no point with going there. But he'll have to answer that question. And that's time up for another break. And so we'll see you on the other side of this.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
This is the big one, the 20% off MSRP model year end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, with huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys. Right here, right now, at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
No matter what you're looking for in a vehicle, start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Well, welcome back. This is George at FetchingNews.com, North Georgia's only live online internet talk show. And you can reach me at 706-889-9700 if you want to comment or have a talk. I was talking about the 5 questions that Ben Carson would be asked. The number 4, what is your plan for ending the affordable housing crisis? The current HUD secretary, a fellow named Castro, has consistently said that the U.S. faces an affordable housing crisis. And he's not the first secretary to make that claim, yes, but housing is changing too. We notice that people are building smaller houses or buying smaller houses, small houses, just because all you need is a wooden tent, basically, with a bathroom and a toilet in it and a little stove to kick. And a lot of millennials are going for that. So maybe that crisis is solvable, is not as big. But according to Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, I wonder how many millions of dollars they get from the federal government. Nearly half of all renters are burdened in the sense that they pay more than 30% of their income on rent. About a quarter are severely burdened, paying half their income of rent. Well, don't live in San Francisco or Oakland or New York City. Move out into the suburbs, move out into another place. That ends that problem. HUD is the agency that is supposed to promote housing affordability. By its own secretary's acknowledgement, it's not succeeding. I'm talking about Castro, not Cuba's Castro. Liberal Democrats will want to know if Carson has plans for boosting funding for affordable housing and voucher programs. No, he don't. Why? We don't have any money anymore. America's broke. America's broke. We're going to have to take money from somewhere else. And there is ways of doing it, but it's going to be painful. The fifth question is, will he reverse the Obama administration's parting gift to borrowers? Yes. You bet he is. Just this week, Secretary Castro announced that the Federal Housing Administration, which is housed within the HUD, would cut the interest rate on premiums on insurance for mortgages backed by the agency, a move that he depicted as a benefit to potential home buyers. It may be, but now interest rates are going up, and the money started to come out will start coming out through banks once Trump becomes president, and lending will be made available, and people will start moving on. It will be a reflection of the healing housing market. Conservatives, however, saw it as fiscally irresponsible, and I've said so. It would increase risk at the agency. As a matter of fact, two agencies, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, are both near bankrupt, and they will probably go bankrupt this year. That's the unspoken story, but they've got to go. They cannot be bailed out like Obama bailed out General Motors. It was a irresponsible move that would increase risk, which provides mortgages with down payments as low as 3.5%, popular with first-time and low-income home buyers. Low-income home buyers, that's the $7.50 an hour type who work at McDonald's. They will be replaced by a robot. In any event, they're never going to be able to afford this house regardless. You want to get out of that pit? Get an education and make your values, your talents, and your skills worth somebody paying to have. Other than that, then you're on the dole. Jeb Hensarling, Republican representative and chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, called the move the administration's parting gift for taxpayers and warned that it would raise the odds of a bailout. But Castro's move could just as easily be reversed by Carson, and it will be, or whoever ultimately heads HUD. Senators will try to learn whether he will want to get a better view of the government involved in housing anyway. So anyway, there we are. That's what Gentleman Ben will face. I hope he makes it. He's any man who can accomplish already what he's accomplished is, in my estimation, a pretty smart guy, and he needs to be supported. And I hope he gets it. I think that's exactly what we need is people his caliber. He's gentle. He doesn't yell and scream. Fair enough. We don't care about that. All right. Now we're going to go to my, I'm going to have to get some new material here so this thing doesn't keep falling over. It's a little tiny picture frame. This is my final thoughts for the day. I call it the trouble with legacies. The trouble with legacies. And I might have even, I even printed a copy. I didn't need to do that. Ever since the 2012 elections that delivered the House into Republican hands and the subsequent disappointing inaction the Republicans showed, I've taken the position that their form of conservatism should have never taken the floor if they were not willing to fight the Democrats. In other words, the Progressive Socialist Party under Obama running our country. They promised to do it, but they didn't deliver. In the election cycle of 2014, Americans delivered the Senate into Republican hands. But sadly, with both houses of Congress in GOP hands, they still failed to deliver, except to provide feeble excuses for why they couldn't do what they were sent there to do, basically try to restore a constitutional America and the rule of law. That's not a legacy to be proud of. So in this last election cycle, Americans sent a novice candidate with no political experience to the White House to run things as we want to run, and by damn, there's still some Republicans out there who don't get it. I'm thinking of John McCain and Lindsey Graham. In his ascendancy, Donald Trump swept away all the usual political roadblocks to conservative performance, as well as the usual suspects that couldn't get anything done, and he did so with the vicious cruelty of the Grim Reaper. And still the GOP political class hasn't got it. Some still insist that the old formula of inclusion and hands across the aisle should be pursued as the fastest way to political harmony and doing the people's work, but nobody told that to the Democrats. Now, the Democrats have lost everything, so it doesn't matter. As president-elect, Trump has already done so much more to bolster the spirit of America and Americans than the current buffoon who is departing has done, that the very air crackles with a spirit not felt since VJ Day, victory over Japan. This is reflected in polls showing that conservatives will support President-elect Trump on key issues over those of the old, dying GOP elites. It's a new legacy forming. 53% of all Americans, not specifically Republicans, but all Americans, support the GOP's position, while 37% say they strongly identify with Trump's positions. Compare this to only 16% who identify with the positions of the average Republican lawmaker, the elites, or 37% agreeing with those of the average congressional Democrat. Those were not seen by the pollers and the movers and shakers before the election. Those were the signals that should have told everybody that Trump was going to win. Rasmussen, the major poll taker, crunches the numbers down even further, showing that of the Americans who describe themselves as Republicans, 63% sided with Trump's views on major issues. Trump raised the issues, and they agreed with him. That's why he's there. That leaves a pitiful 27% who said they were in step with the average GOP, and that's the establishment politicians, and that's the trouble with legacies. You think you have one, and somebody pulls the rug right out from underneath you. Most folks don't really know how Trump will lead the nation. We know he is a tough negotiator, and we know he generally gets what he wants. We know he listens to the sage advice of his counselors, and he does not surround himself with yes men. We suspect he will ardently push his ideas, like his cabinet choices, through a basically hostile GOP Congress. We know he will probably win because the GOP could never fend off the Democrats. How will they possibly fend off the one man who not only defeated 16 other GOP hopefuls, but the Democrats' main candidate as well, the corrupt and very beatable Hillary Rodham Clinton? Trump knows weakness when he sees it, and he knows how to exploit it. Well, the question arises, will Trump, like Obama, ignore the constitutional restraints in his pursuit of change by becoming an autocrat? Or will he wisely stiffen the backbone of this Republican Congress to move America away from its corrupt past and into the promised economic future that appears to be dawning on the horizon? Trump is in the driver's seat. Let's let him drive. And that's my thought for the day. Now, to elaborate on this a little bit, this BuzzFeed issue over the allegations that Trump had some prostitutes in Moscow urinate on a bed that Obama slept in, and they had films of the president-elect in compromising positions, which has now turned out to be so horribly wrong, lies, complete lies, fake news. It was John McCain who is pushing that narrative on behalf of the old-time Senate Republicans. John McCain. And he says back, he says, well, I've had this for months, and I finally gave it to the FBI thinking it was important. His timing couldn't have been worse. John McCain needs to be fired from that job. A recall petition should go through Arizona and pull that idiot out. He was a hero, a military hero, because he survived a prison, a long prison incarceration. He was not a military hero because he was shot down. He did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. He dropped a lot of bombs in Vietnam. He finally took one for the Gipper and paid for it in a lot of time in the North Vietnamese prison. But by damn, he's way past his prime, and he cannot be in there anymore. And that's one of the and of course he was there for 6 more years. So we'll have to put up with him. At least he'll give us something to talk about. I'd like to just say 1 or 2 more things on what is going on right now. It was predicted that Jeff Sessions would have a hard time in the hearings, a rough time in the hearings, but that turns out not to be the case. He snapped everything away, all the questions away like it was nothing. He will be confirmed. Rex Tillerson will be confirmed. And I'm running out of time. I can blather on, but it's time for me to get out of here, and I'll tell you, I'll see you next Monday morning at 10:30. So tune in, and we can talk, get your thoughts together, call in, ask some questions, and let's get it going. So take us out here, Cole. We're done for the day.